In this problem, you're given two arrays. First, an array of integers named code, and second, an array of chars named alphabet. You know the names of these arrays and that they exist and have values, but you don't get to see what the values are. The question gives you one possible set of values for each array, but your solution has to work for all different legal values. The preconditions tell us that alphabet is an array of chars, code is an array of ints, max message length is the size of the message array, and code length is the actual length of the message. Notice that the actual length of the message might be smaller than the size of the array. Since the problem asks us to store the solution in an array named message, and we know that it contains chars, we can declare it like this. But we need to know the size of the array that we should allocate. The problem also mentions that the length of the message is stored in an integer named code length, so we need the size of the array to be at least code length. While it is tempting to do this, it doesn't actually always work, because when an array is declared, the size must be known at compile time. So it is better and more conventional to establish a maximum size for the messages and make this a constant. So instead we can do this. Next, we need a way of going over the numbers in the code array in order to know which letters to add to our message array. We also need to keep track of how many characters we've already stored in it. One way of doing so is with a for loop. To start, let's have a variable I act as a counter to keep track of our index. To iterate over the array, we'll want to start from index 0 and keep incrementing by one index each time, stopping once we reach the end of the code array. Since we know the length of both the code array and our final message is stored by code length, the index of the final element must be at exactly code length minus 1. In other words, we want to keep looping as long as I is less than code length. If we put all of this together, our for loop starts like this. Now we can start storing characters in our message array. At each index I in message, we need to store a letter from the alphabet array, whose index is referred to by the ith element of code. Let's break this down a bit. First, we know that we need to store a letter in message at index I. Next, we need to know which integer is stored in code at index I. We know that this integer is the index of a letter in alphabet, so we can look up which value is stored at this index. Finally, we need to store the decoded letter into message, so we can combine everything into one line like this. And now we can check to see if it works.